Senator Rand Paul has consistently highlighted what he perceives as wasteful spending by the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, arguing that these funds could be better allocated to address domestic issues. Now, let's listen in as he explains example after example. This is unbelievable.
Let me give you just a few examples of what these unelected bureaucrats are spending your hard-earned money on. $4.8 million went to Ukraine's public affairs office in Kiev to fund social media influencers. Instead of protecting our own border, $2.1 million was sent to Paraguay to enhance their border security. USAID also funded a group of Ukrainian women-led designers to travel to the Paris Fashion Show. I don't know about you, but I'd imagine Ukrainian women have more important things to worry about than appearing in the Paris Fashion Show. USAID spent $2 million on transgender surgeries, hormone therapy, and gender-affirming care in Guatemala. $3 million was spent to promote girl-centric climate action in Brazil. Understand how insulting to women at large that they think there are special arguments for girls to understand that are different than boys. $25,000 to fund a transgender opera in Colombia. USAID spent $32,000 in Peru to create a comic featuring a trans hero to address social and mental health issues. What does that have to do with diplomacy? $20,000 to fund a DEI program for a drag theater in Ecuador. $20 million was spent to produce a new Sesame Street show in Iraq. USAID spent $6 million to promote a project boosting sustainable tourism in Egypt. I guess the U.S. is now the travel agent for the entire world since they spent $50 million on Tunisia's tourism, even though it's already one of the most visited countries in Africa. USAID gave $87.9 million to help Afghans farm, and incidentally, farm poppy, the plant from which opium is extracted. As of 2021, Afghanistan supplied 90% of the world's heroin. I thought the saying in the U.S. was just say no to drugs. How about we just say no to wasteful foreign aid? $70,000 for a live musical event to promote diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility in Ireland. State Department paid $330,000 to compile a disinformation index to blacklist conservative media outlets. USAID funneled over $54 million to EcoHealth Alliance, funding the very organization linked to the Wuhan Institute of Virology, the likely origin of the COVID-19 pandemic. Disgraceful. $15 million was awarded to Taliban-controlled Afghanistan to distribute oral contraceptives and condoms. There's still a $3 billion fund for Afghan reconstruction that have tried to take that money to pay for other things that the government is spending money on, and yet there's been resistance by the other side to deplete that fund and say, we're done funding things in Afghanistan. This is just the tip of the iceberg. These are taxpayer dollars being used to fund ideologically misguided, ineffective, and unnecessary projects, thanks to the blundering bureaucracy, while our own citizens struggle to put food on the table. This is not what our government was designed to do. The U.S. government is not a charity, and it should not be doling out cash to foreign organizations, some of which actively oppose the United States with no oversight. And we don't have the money to give. We're borrowing the money we send. We need to ask a simple question. Why are we borrowing money to send money overseas? Even if USAID eliminated the crazy left-wing grants for trans operas, it still makes no sense to borrow money to then turn around and send it overseas. Borrowing money to send as charity is like the worker who has no money left after paying for their food, rent, and gas, saying, oh, well, I see this homeless person, I have such great sympathy. I'll go to the bank and I'll borrow $1,000 to give to this person. That's what we are doing. We can't pay for our own, and we are borrowing the money we send overseas. That money could be used to pay down our $36 trillion debt and take care of the American people, the very people who actually pay these taxes in the first place.
It's unfortunate that the Democrats seem to prioritize their own political agenda over the well-being of America as a whole. They often oppose the initiatives that President Trump is pursuing for everyday taxpayers. Instead of obstructing progress, They should recognize the significant wasteful spending that has taken place over the past 4 years. Regardless of political affiliation, everyone should be concerned about waste and want transparency regarding where their tax money is going. If they focused on the greater good, they would earn more respect, and Americans could unite as one. And finally, pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. But before you leave, check out this bonus clip that I have set up and ready to go of Patrick Bet David, ending off this video with some facts that will keep you questioning everything. Like and subscribe for more.
Pentagon racks up $35 trillion in accounting changes in 1 year, and they cannot account for 63% of $4 trillion of assets. DoD regularly buys parts and equipment it does not need because it can't keep track of parts and equipment it already owns. So they've already bought so many different things. They don't even know who's taking care of it. Like, we have a lot of equipment, right? Imagine somebody has to sit there and write down all the cameras we have, the lenses we have, the equipment we have. They're not even keeping track of it. So they keep buying stuff. They don't even know what they have in their inventory. Think about how crazy that is. Again, you and I are paying for it. The Pentagon has failed. Pentagon started doing audits 7 years ago. They have never once passed one. And even in April of 2023, Jon Stewart is interviewing a lady on C-SPAN. I think it is C-SPAN. Maybe it is C-SPAN. You got to see it. Saying, hey, how is it that you guys are failing audits? And she says, well, what you don't know is there's a big difference between, first of all, instead of me acting it out because you may think we're exaggerating, I just want you to watch this clip with Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart cannot believe what this lady is saying. Watch this clip for yourself.
A lot of waste, fraud, and abuse within a system.
Audits and waste, fraud, and abuse are not the same thing. So let's decompose these pieces.
Please educate me on
Sure.
what
So an audit is exactly what you just described,
Yes.
which is, do I know what was delivered to which place?
Right.
The ability to pass an audit or the fact that the DoD has not passed an audit is not suggestive of waste, fraud, and abuse. That is completely false right there. So
what is
now
it
is the question of, it's suggestive that we don't have an accurate inventory that we can pull up of what we have where. That is not the same as saying we can't do that because waste, fraud, and abuse has occurred.
So in my world,
yeah,
that's waste.
How is that waste?
If I give you $1 billion and you can't tell me what happened to it, that to me is wasteful. That means you are not responsible. But if you can't tell me where it went, then what am I supposed to think? And when there has been reporting, I mean, this is not, look, I'm not saying this is on you and that you caused this, but I think it's a tough argument to
I'm pretty
make
sure
that
I didn't cause it.
an $850 billion budget to an organization that can't pass an audit and tell you where that money went. Like, I think most people would consider that somewhere in the realm of waste, fraud, or abuse, because they would wonder why that money isn't well accounted for. And especially when they see food insecurity on military bases, and they see...
You want to talk about that? Because that's a good... We should be talking... I mean, well, I'm trying to understand where you're trying to go, other than the dollars, which really bother you.
I think it doesn't really bother me. I think it's all connected.
Okay.
I think
tell me that story.
By the way, you hired them. We hired them. And that's what they're doing with our money.